to another episode of Coryell Roofing, Setting the Standard. We have a very special guest today. I'm excited to introduce a man that has page after page of credentials. I don't even know that I have the time on this podcast to list all of them off. It's very impressive. Trent Cotney is joining us. I actually met Trent through Best of Success. He's an advocate for the roofing and construction industry, and he speaks every year at Best of Success and imparts his wisdom and experience onto contractors to help them understand how to better mitigate risk and how to safely navigate the challenging construction world and all of the contracting challenges that go with that. Trent is one of the most influential legal and policy voices in construction and roofing, combining deep legal expertise with leadership roles across many of industry's most important organizations. Trent, thank you for being here today. I can't thank you enough for taking the time out to join us.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
You bet. I'm going to talk just a little bit about who you are, what you represent, and then we're going to go into a conversation that I think is going to help a lot of property owners. That's what our goal is. We're trying to set the standard in roofing, and our podcasts are designed to draw information out and share with anybody that's trying to make a purchasing decision in the commercial roofing space. Whether they're a public entity, private entity, no matter what they are, they need to understand the challenges and some strategies that they can apply that help them avoid risk. So who is Trent? He's a partner and national construction team leader at Adams and Reese LLP, board certified construction lawyer by the Florida Bar. He's licensed in multiple states, including Florida, Texas, Tennessee, Illinois, Indiana, Massachusetts, Washington, Wyoming, Kansas, and Washington, D.C. More than 25 years of experience representing contractors, suppliers, manufacturers, developers, architects, and engineers. He's very well known for founding and serving as the CEO of Cotney Attorneys and Consultants. That firm grew tremendously with more than 20 offices. He's got deep ties in the roofing industry as general counsel for National Roofing Contractor Association, Florida Roofing and Sheet Metal Association, Roofing Technology Think Tank, Western States Roofing Contractors Association. The list goes on and on. I don't even have the ability to name all the associations that you're partnered in representing. Areas of his expertise are construction litigation, arbitration and mediation, OSHA defense and compliance, construction contracts, and so many more. He's an author, a speaker, an educator. Trent has authored more than 1,000 articles posted and published in regional and national publications. He's a frequent speaker at industry conferences. He's a best-selling author. You can find his books on Amazon. OSHA, Defense for the Construction Industry, and OSHA Defense, Know Your Rights, Roofing Law Contracts. He's also the host of his own podcast, being the Law and Mortar, one of the leading construction law podcasts in the industries. Trent sits at the intersection of construction law, roofing leadership, industry advocacy, national policy, and business strategy. Does that pretty much sum it up, Trent? You have a long introduction. It's really, really impressive. The other notable thing about Trent that I love is Trent was a graduate of Vanderbilt University, and he was on the Dean's List, top 1%, Alexander Hurd Award, summa cum laude, high honors in 1996. So, man, you've got a very, very impressive career already, and so many notable things that you've contributed to the construction and roofing industry. I have to ask you, of all your accomplishments, Trent, what are you most proud of?
You know, I'm very grateful and appreciative for any of the awards or honors or distinctions that I've won, but I'm most proud of my family and anytime, we were talking about, my son and his competitions and things that he does from sports, and when he wins something, that to me is the greatest accomplishment, because he's a reflection of what his mom and I have done, and we're a tight family, and I think that's the most important thing to me. So while I'm very appreciative of all the honors and awards, I'm more appreciative of the time I get to spend with my family.
Do you feel yourself challenged sometimes on the ability to spend time with your family? Any guy that's written 1,000 publications, written books, serves on the board of so many associations, is general counsel for so many associations. You've got to be spread thin.
It is. It's always a challenge. I'll say I've done. My son he'll be 17 here shortly. Obviously the travel's picked up the older he's gotten, but he's heavily involved in the industry himself. He's been to, we were counting. He's been to since he was 2. He's gone to every single Florida trade show that's been there, and he's gotten to really know a lot of people in the industry. He just picked up his OSHA 10 safety course this summer, and he's looking to go into construction management, probably go into doing something in the industry. So we work together basically. Even now, the whole family comes on the road to a lot of my events, and when he's not in school, where he's everywhere where I'm at. So you make it work. There's never a work life balance is a joke, but you got to figure it out, right? You got to figure out how to prioritize things that are important.
That's exciting because it makes that work family balance a little bit more achievable when you've got family that's actually doing it with you. So, hats off to your son. It's pretty exciting to hear. I mean, he's already on a circuit for wrestling across the country at a high level, and sounds like he's going to take that championship mindset right into maybe law and the construction industry and safety. So, really excited to hear that. Yeah, and
So
I understand very well what it's like to have challenges in balancing work and family life, and I too am very focused on my family. That's the most important thing. So I appreciate you saying that. Um, Definitely, a lot of people in the industry think that attorneys are the bad guys. They're out to get you. But to hear from you that you're a family man and that you're focused on helping people, that's refreshing to hear. Why did you choose roofing? You know, I never have heard one person that's in roofing say, I chose roofing. It usually finds you. So, but you have an esteemed career in the legal field. Why did you lean towards construction, OSHA, roofing? What drew you there?
Yeah, so my grandfather was a residential roofer in the Jacksonville area, and he worked on that a little bit, then switched jobs later. We owned a hardware store that serviced contractors. It just celebrated its 100th year a couple of years ago, and still does specialty stuff in the world of Home Depot and Lowe's. We're still around. So, and we also had a lumber yard. So I kind of grew up in the industry and did real well in law school and undergrad, but just I wanted to do something I was passionate about. And when I got out of law school, I said, look, I want to get into construction. And that's when I started in the late 90s. I started, getting into construction and roofing. Started working closely with associations, and I've really enjoyed it. I'll be honest with you and our listeners. If it wasn't for the industry and my passion for advocacy and just being proactive rather than reactive, probably wouldn't be a lawyer right now. Right? I love what I do, and I love fighting for the industry. It's something that I think is very important to me, and that's what helps me get out of bed in the morning.
That's pretty impressive, very admirable. Yeah, I also understand that you have a really impressive collection of roofing memorabilia. What is that all about?
Yeah, so I've always been a little bit of a roofing history nerd, and we had an old space where I had a training center, and I have about 300, maybe it's probably up to 500 now, old roofing porcelain signs dating all the way back to the 1800s, and had them hung up everywhere. I've got that, and I've got thousands upon thousands of old letterhead and old manuals and everything else. And I routinely speak on history of roofing. In fact, the Western Roofing Expo is coming up here in Vegas next month, September. I'll be speaking there along with John Kinney, who is my former COO. So where it's something I'm very passionate about. I believe that history for a lot is an oral history, right? There's not a lot in writing that kind of discusses how things got to where it is today. So part of what I want to do is preserve that history. Make sure that somebody's keeping that stuff because most people throw it out and tell the story. It's something it's a don't my wife is like, why are you buying more stuff? My our garage and storage units are filled with the stuff, but I enjoy it. It helps me pass the time, and it's funny. I'm always getting stuff in the mail. People send me stuff, but it's a good hobby to have.
Well, it keeps you grounded and rooted to the history of roofing, which helps with current day issues and legal matters. It's interesting that you say that because prior to this broadcast, you and I were talking about Red Steagall and the Retching Heritage Institute that's being put up in Lubbock, Texas at Texas Tech University to preserve the history of the Western culture and agriculture. You're doing the exact same thing in roofing. That's really impressive. Have you found that understanding the history of roofing through your collection and through memorabilia has helped you with legal situations?
It does. It gives you perspective, and when you piece together the history through the letterhead, through the invoices, through the stories that are told, and you see that a lot of the same problems that we're dealing with now, people were dealing with back in the 1800s, right? Labor and workforce issues, material pricing, obtaining materials. We, you can track the origins of things like warranties and bonds and all that kind of stuff, and it gives you some perspective and lets you know that there is a cyclical nature to the industry. You will see things come and ebb and flow, and it's funny. I chuckle sometimes. I've got some old letters that have gone back and forth from lawyers, back at the turn of the century in the 1900s, and it's basically a lot of that more verbose, but a lot of what I would say today.
Yeah. Are you seeing that we're living in a more challenging time today, contractually and legally, than, say, 25 years ago?
Absolutely, absolutely. It is, for property owners out there, for people that are looking to, either get some service work or replace their roof. There are so many different things that you got to take into account. It's, building codes, it's insulation, it's, energy, it's type of system, longevity, warranties. There are so many different moving parts. So, when you're looking at it, it is a lot that has to be dealt with contractually, not just from a legal perspective, but from a scope perspective. What's included, what's not included, and having the right professional be able to come out and really help you with that is critical. It is. I was talking to one of my friends the other day, and he had gotten three quotes from roofing contractors for some work, and I knew two of the three, and the third one that I didn't know was the lowest price. And I said, look, you need to go on reputation, longevity, warranties. You need to understand the importance of this. You couldn't ask for something more important than the thing that keeps water and the elements out of your house, right? It is not something you want to cut corners on. So, you know, contractually, you're really having to pay attention to all that stuff because there is a lot of liability. There's a lot of moving parts, and it's one of the most important purchases that you can make.
I say that all the time, Trent. We at Coriel Roofing, we work primarily with commercial entities in the public and private sectors. We do a lot of public work, so the contracts and the laws that are governed by in each state that we work in, they can become very challenging. And I think the biggest challenge that I've seen for property owners, decision makers at public institutions is they don't have a lot of education at their fingertips to make an educated and informed decision on roofing, but yet they're making one of the largest decisions that's going to affect them for the next 20 to 30 years. And we feel a lot of times that their decision is rushed without having the proper information. So that's really the point of why we're doing what we're doing. And I know it's the point of why you do what you do. I've seen you so often working to educate contractors, and I think that's so admirable. You are trying to help raise the standard in the industry so that property owners can avoid those pitfalls and the challenges. As an example, we work with a lot of school boards. And I've said for the longest time, school board members have a very unfair advantage because it's a true disadvantage because a school board member is an elected position in a community. And once they're put on the school board, they are making multi-million-dollar decisions on roofing projects, and they're not roofing experts. And a lot of times they might get 15 to 20 minutes to make that decision. that again affects that district for the next 20 to 30 years. We've tried to be an advocate for education in the industry, and it's because of guys like you that help set that standard and say, look, there's a better way to do things. Let's protect people. Has that been your motto over the past 25 years, is protecting people?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, both you and your company are well known for doing that, right? I mean, it's when you're doing government work, especially school work, it is the value add that a contractor provides. Because clearly, you're putting on the right system, you're doing the work, you've been around for a while, you've got, great warranties, all those types of things that are checking the boxes. But a lot of times, what a school board or a public owner or government agency is looking for is they're looking for someone to hold their hand, basically tell them, look, this is what you don't know, right? And look, we live in a world of, Chat GPT and AI and everything else. That's not going to tell you the real story. Right? You're
Right.
not going to understand what you need and what the potential pitfalls are. And that's why it's important to partner with somebody that has really done a lot of this work, understands what they're doing, and can provide that value add. It's not just about submitting a proposal and a price. It's about giving a holistic view of what a property owner or a government agency can expect long term. What does this look like? What are the maintenance costs? What are the repair costs? What are things that I might not be thinking of? And that is a critical component to the work that you guys do daily.
We're going to talk specifically about some aspects of those decision making processes, but I want to share with you real quick one of the I guess you'd call it a campaign advocacy platform that we've been standing on for the past 5, 6 years. You may be aware in 2024, we were named Roofing Contractor of the Year by Roofing Contractor magazine. That was a huge honor, and it was due to our advocacy for the education industry, trying to help. Our company motto is we protect people, property, and policy. And that last part, that policy, is something that gets forgotten so often in the roofing industry. When we stand in front of a school board and we propose a system to them, we're proposing it based on where they are and what they need to protect themselves from the elements, to satisfy code, and to give them a long-term solution that they don't have to worry about. We want our clients, especially in education, to focus on educating students. They shouldn't be roofing experts. They shouldn't have distractions in the classroom because a roofing contractor cut corners. And so often our bid laws guide the purchasing or procurement process to a direction of focusing on price and warranty. We forget about scope. We forget about all the things that protect you through that roof system. And as long as you've got the longest warranty and the cheapest price, those are the contractors that typically get awarded. And that's unfair to the end user because the systems that are being installed are not adequate. It was just the lowest price. And that's where you get into all the challenges with contractual obligations and scope of work discrepancies. Do you see that a lot in the industry?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's devil is in the details, especially up front and during the bid process, right? You got to be able to understand ambiguity creates disputes, right? Nobody likes lawyers, myself included, except for the good folks at Adams and Reese in case they're listening. But I would say that the majority of disputes that end up in litigation or arbitration is because of something that's ambiguous in the contract documents. I'll give you a great example. So, you may, if a contractor's on a job and they're submitting a change order or a claim, it may be because the plans and specs didn't properly identify exactly what needed to be done, right? That may end up creating a dispute. So taking the time up front to work with somebody that's knowledgeable, that understands what may be needed, can help eliminate a lot of these disputes. And that's the key thing. It's like I said, it's what you don't see that's important. And keeping resolving things quickly and getting a project done on time is always the key.
Absolutely. I'm going to give you an example of one of the things that we've been so heavy on advocating and promoting to our clients in the states that we work in, because I feel like it's one of the most critical things going on in roofing right now and has been for the past 20 to 25 years. Let's just take the state of Texas, for example. That's where I'm sitting right now, Dallas, Texas. And in the state of Texas for the past 20 to 25 years, as a contractor, Coriel Roofing and any other contractor working in Texas is required to follow code. And the code that we have to follow is IBC, the International Building Code, and IECC, International Energy Conservation Code. And those two codes, and IBC is for life safety, it protects people. IECC is for energy efficiency, it protects our environment per se. But there really is no code or legislation in place that protects property owners from the elements, the storms. Contractors are not required by code or by law to put robust systems in place that protect building owners from large hailstorms or large windstorms. And the resulting effect of that is we've seen inadequate, insufficient roof systems installed across the state of Texas and many other states for that matter for the past 20 to 25 years. And the insurance companies have finally said enough. We're not going to insure these anymore. We're not going to take them on as risk. It is not good enough. They aren't designed to stand up to the elements. There is a recipe that we follow and we got our clients into, but it's not a required code or required system specification that anybody has to follow. So even in new construction settings or roof restoration settings, we're seeing roof systems being put on in very severe hail regions that aren't even designed to handle moderate hail. Are you seeing a lot of that as well?
Absolutely. It is the the choices that are being made out there sometimes, they don't look into the longevity of the roof or the ability of the roof to perform in adverse conditions. And there's a lot of different things. There's hail, there's high winds, there's fire, right? There's all these different things that you got to take into account that can, impact not just the roof but the building itself and the people within it. So, it's important to invest in that roof. It's one of the most important decisions that you can make for your structure. It's right up there with, the building envelope and everything else. You've got to really think about what you're going to put on there and how it's going to handle hail and other severe storms.
And what we see most often when we're working with clients is this misconception of a warranty. That's going to take us into our first real segment about how you protect your roof warranty. If you think about when a decision maker weighs their options, and I just said in most cases, in a short period of time to make that decision, they're basing it off of price and warranty. I get this all the time. Very regularly, somebody will say to me, well, we've got a warranty in place for 20 years. It's a no dollar limit warranty. I'm not worried about what's going to happen. But most people don't understand that warranties have limitations. They have exclusions. Literally, when a severe hailstorm hits or a very severe or high winds or fire, like you said, warranty is void. Manufacturer no longer recognizes that warranty. But in the mindset of the decision maker, when they're making that decision, they feel like the warranty is actually protecting them. We have to use the car illustration a lot of times. You buy a brand new car, you drive it off the lot, you have insurance on that car, you have a manufacturer's warranty on that car, and you drive through a hailstorm. Who do you call? You call your insurance company because your warranty at that point doesn't cover hail damage. And a lot of manufacturers have built warranty systems that protect property owners against certain size hailstones or wind uplift, but your traditional warranties are what get people in trouble. In your mind, Trent, are all warranties created equal?
Absolutely not. I mean, there are buckets of warranties, right? There's the workmanship aspect, the material aspect, and like you said, oftentimes on, your better systems, you will see, a no dollar limit or NDL type warranty where there's a combination of both after a certain period of time. And the devil's in the details, right? You really want to understand what the exclusions are. It is not a guarantee; it is a warranty. There's a difference from a legal perspective. So part of the things that I think are important for looking at a workmanship warranty, is making sure that the person that is providing that has some legs to that company, right? They've been around for a while. They're going to be around, right? And I see this all the time. I review a lot of contracts. I don't know how many, but I guarantee it's more than 100 a month, right? And I will see, some contractors say lifetime warranty. Well, if you've only been in business for a year, that what does that mean? You could be gone, a year from now, right? You want somebody that is reliable, is reputable, is part of the community, is going to show up when there's a problem. That is the most important thing. Will this company show up if there's a problem? Or are they a fly by night? Or are they out of town? Are they, are these, are they doing a project that may be in Oklahoma or Texas, but they're from California. How does that work, right? So it's important to make sure that you've got someone that is reputable. And I think the other thing is the manufacturer and the system that's on there. The contractors, the elite contractors, are working with the best manufacturers that are out there. These manufacturers have their own internal training that they do with contractors. That they have their own warranty process. They have their own inspections, right? And all of this is important. I think the car analogy is really good. You want to make sure that you are covered, right? That
Hmm.
that you've got some coverage, because if it starts to leak, you want somebody to call, and you want that person, that company, to show up. That's the key thing. You don't want to be left holding the bag in the event that there's a major hailstorm and you got, a ton of leaks that start popping up a few days later.
And there's so many tricks and traps in the warranty game that people are just not aware of. For example, a typical roofing product or membrane, I'm not talking manufacturer specific at all, just a typical roof warranty. If a contractor was to go buy supplies and install it on a property owner's roof and use the standard 15 or 20-year warranty, that warranty typically is going to cover you for, let's just say, up to 54-mile-an-hour winds. Well,
Hmm.
when you live in the South, in the plains, that's pretty much every day. Go out to Amarillo, Texas, and I promise you, the wind rates out there are pretty high on a regular basis. But when they're purchasing that warranty, they don't even realize if I get wind speeds of 60 mile an hour and something fails on the roof system, that manufacturer could come back to me and literally say, we have documented evidence that there were higher wind speeds than your warranty covers. You're holding the bag at that point. That's a scary situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I say, take the opportunity to really understand what's being offered to you, because it's not just about completing the work that's in front of you. It's, what does this look like down the road, right? It's a major investment, critical component of your building and of your structure, and you want to know that you're going to be protected, right? And that's part of the pricing. That's part of the decision. It's absolutely critical, and a lot of people overlook it. I see it all the time where they're just focused on what's right in front of them. How much does it cost to replace this roof, right? But they're not paying attention to, what does this look like, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road.
Exactly. And then there's also components of warranties that we've seen that require annual inspections or maintenance. And property owners don't even realize that's built into their warranty. They're not educated on it. So 5 years, 10 years into the warranty period, they have a claim. It clearly looks as though it's material failure, which would engage your warranty at that point. But unless they have documented evidence that they performed those maintenance checks or the service every single year, manufacturer can actually come back and say, I'm sorry, your warranty doesn't apply because you didn't take the required steps to preserve or maintain your roof systems by doing annual checks. We've seen that a lot where property owners just aren't informed at all. Do you see that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if there's an exclusion or a loophole or something in that warranty, it may be an out for a manufacturer, right? So it's important that you're engaging in routine maintenance and service. It's important that you're inspecting drainage, that you're doing all the things to ensure that the roof is functioning as it should. And to me, maintenance and service is one of the most important aspects of roofing. It's not just, re-roofing and putting that roof on. It's maintaining that roof and getting the most out of it. That's the critical thing, is get the most out of we live in a world where there's a mindset of just having a throwaway roof, right? And that's not what it needs to be an investment, right? Because it's a lot of money, and if you properly take care of it, you're going to get more years out of that roof.
What's interesting about what you just said, throwaway roofs, is I firmly believe, I'm interested to see what your opinion is on it, but I firmly believe the reason that we live in a state of throwaway roof mentality is because we've been conditioned that the insurance company is going to write the check for our next roof. A
Mhm.
lot of people have. And so you don't necessarily care for your roof as the way that you should, or protect yourself the way you should, because you think, next hailstorm that comes along, I'll file a claim, insurance company. Those days are over. The insurance companies are not doing that anymore. They're protecting themselves from the risk that's associated with poorly maintained or poorly installed roof systems. And you can't blame them for doing that. We've seen deductibles go through the roof, literally unaffordable deductibles, to the point where if you did have to file an insurance claim on your roof system, the deductible cost is going to offset the money that you would get for the roof replacement. You're still out of pocket at that point. So many exclusions and limitations, and I think that's a trap that a lot of people fall into, and bringing people to a state of awareness in that, we feel, is so valuable. Um, I'm going to do a little boasting on Coryell Roofing, if you don't mind. I'm proud of our team. I'm proud of what we do. We believe that to get the proper roof system and to have a warranty that is right for the building owner, to have a roof system that protects the building owner, the people in it, the property, and the insurance policy that's associated with it, we believe that starts at the specification stage. It starts at working with either an architect or the owner themselves in the roof system design. And if you get that right, and there are no, like you said, if there are discrepancies in that from the start, you're going to have problems with it forevermore. So we believe that working through the details, choosing the right roof system, the right warranty, and educating the client, that's what gets you to a point where you can have a successful project and you can have a warranty that lasts. And so many times we feel like the reason that we're able to do that is we have a quality assurance process where our team is checking the roof system 3 times before the manufacturer ever comes out. And I'm sure you see a lot of contractors across the country that get in trouble with this, and a lot of building owners that get in trouble with it, that if you don't have a manufacturer, if a manufacturer is warranting your roof system and they're not coming and checking that roof system to know what they're warranting, then you're just rolling the dice at that point. Whereas with Coryell Roofing, we have the manufacturer, which is Duralast, come to our job sites every single job. We actually have a 99.87% quality assurance score with Duralast. That puts us in the top 1% of contractors across the country of quality installations. That's what protects clients. That's what protects Coryell Roofing. That protects this process. Are you seeing a trend in other contractors going to more care and concern with quality assurance?
Yeah, I think the elite contractors that are out there, including yourself, I think that's one of the critical sales points, right? It's making sure that you you are not just installing a roof, you're installing it, per the manufacturer's uh, specifications and recommendations, and that you've got that independent assurance that you are doing things according to the highest level of standards that are out there. And that gives, the end user, the property owner, the government agency, whoever it might be, um, you know, a good feeling that they've got something, a worthwhile product. They can show that to their, to the commissioners, to the board, to whoever is in, governing that entity. Say, look, we've done our homework. Here is this contractor's reputation. Here is what they're the kind of system they're putting on. Here's what the manufacturer says about them. We're in good hands, and that'll help you sleep better at night.
Absolutely, agreed. So that takes us to our next segment that I want to talk to you about, and we're going to get through 2 more of them. We've got about 10 minutes left. I want to talk to you real quick about workforce compliance. That's a big, big thing right now. Immigration. You talked a little bit about this at Best of Success in Dallas in 2025. What is the current climate of I-9 immigration laws, the challenges that you're seeing across the country? We've seen a massive surge in deportation. We've seen immigration. Mark Wayne Mullen from Oklahoma was actually just named to regulate that part of our country. How is that affecting the industry?
It's significantly affecting the industry. We have seen a dramatic rise in both ICE raids and I-9 audits for contractors, and it is impacted skilled labor. Right? It is there's a lot of um, you know, laborers and workers that have been deported as a result. And one of the other issues is that, if you've got immigration related issues on a job site, that can affect the job site, right? So hiring a reputable contractor that is making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, checking the boxes and, compliant is going to ensure, that you've got a smooth project. I anticipate that, it's the level of immigration compliance that you're seeing now is not going anywhere. DHS has been fully funded for the next few years. So, if anything, you're going to see it continue to increase. I check, at being in charge of the team here, I get weekly reports. We currently have 63 roofing contractors that we're defending on I-9 audits, right?
Oof.
And that is astronomical, right? And it's just hard to believe that there's that many that at one time. So and they keep coming in. So it's critically important to understand that yeah, the immigration is affecting labor, it's affecting job sites, and making sure that you've got your ducks in a row is always aboard.
So, to our clients out there that are listening, to any property owner, building owner, or decision maker out there that's listening, how can they protect themselves in this situation? I know you said hire legitimate, credible, experienced contractors, but uh, they have to understand or know that no matter who they're hiring, they're protected and they're not going to have a roof torn off and then all of a sudden their crew is gone, completely gone because of immigration issues. How do they protect themselves?
Yeah, so, as part of the vetting process, they want to make sure that the contractor has, the correct immigration compliance in place, maintaining I-9s, it is a project that requires you to verify that they're compliant with that. It is ensuring as part of the bid process that you're 100% compliant. And I've had multiple commercial projects stopped in the middle of drying, right? Because the entire crew is rounded up, 12-man crew gone. And, and you don't want to have that happen and have a storm be coming. So it's important that, as a property owner, you're doing your due diligence in advance. You're making sure that, the contractor that you're about to work with is compliant and has checked the appropriate boxes to make sure that their workforce is legitimate.
Well, and then that leads to another concern that even if you're checking compliance, let's just say in the situation you just talked about, you've seen many times where they're in the process of dry-in and the crew is completely removed from the project. That leaves the building owner exposed and vulnerable. How do they make sure they're protected against that? Because now we're getting into the general liability insurance layer. So you're talking with a contractor to make sure, am I properly covered in the event that something does happen, immigration enforcement or whatever the case? How does a building owner protect themselves? By checking insurance policies and making sure they have proper coverage?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I obviously I recommend that, any property owner get a certificate of insurance and understand what the coverage is going to be for that project. Looking at the extent of coverage and the policies that, their contractors have, and understanding who to contact in the event that there's an issue. All of that is critically important.
Absolutely. So the third segment, I really want to talk about where building owners truly get in trouble. And this is the managing financial and contract risks portion of our conversation. We see more often than not that and I'm going to say this very loosely, very, I'm not throwing this at any specific type of contractor or area of contractors, but roofing contractors in general are not, they don't start off as business people. Is that a fair statement?
That I think that's fair. A lot of the contractors out there, including, my grandbrother we talked about, they started working on a roof and elevated up through the process and ultimately end up, becoming a contractor. So they don't necessarily have, they're many of them aren't MBAs or have the level of business acumen that you would anticipate.
And so when they face the challenges of financial management, insurance, risk mitigation, a lot of times it's a huge task for them to get in compliance and to make sure that they're protecting themselves and they're protecting their clients. So when I say, where do building owners get in trouble the most from a financial standpoint? Is it contractors that on the outside they look to be healthy, but when you really dig down deep, they're not so healthy, and you're running a huge risk of paying a contractor for materials and labor or any kind of service and then not getting that fulfilled? What do you see most in the industry?
Yeah, it is. Especially with storm and insurance work, there is um, lack of operational excellence among some contractors. Not all. There are a lot of great contractors that engage in this work routinely and deal with it. But one of the things that I will see a lot with contractors is that, they don't understand bottom line. They understand everybody loves sales. They want to sell more. They want to make more money on the top line, but they don't understand, how to keep the lights on, how to make payroll. And you start seeing a lot of instances where you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're collecting deposits on other jobs and using that to pay suppliers, right? And that's the kind of thing that will end up, with your job. If you're a government job with a lot of potential bond claims, if you're a private job with a lot of potential lien claims, and you end up with a lot of problems. So ensuring that you've got a contractor that understands business operations, that understands the importance of payment applications, getting paid, providing releases, bonding capacity, all those types of things that show that you are a reputable contractor is should be an important part of the decision. Again, I've seen so many property owners just focus on the dollar amount. That's a trap. This is not something you want to cut corners on. It is not, trust me when I say that, it is the most important decision that you can make for your building. It keeps the weather out. So do not cut corners. Don't, look at reputation. Reputation is critically important.
Absolutely. And you said bonding. That's one of the first indicators of a contractor that meets all the financial requirements, because in order to be bonded by a surety company, you have to go through a massive financial background investigation, and an actuary will actually study your finances to determine if you qualify to contract projects where you are in the state that you're in. A lot of states that require licensing, they require bonding. They want to know that you're a financially healthy company. So to the property owners out there, the decision makers, as they're looking at selecting a contractor, looking at selecting a manufacturer that contractor represents, the partnership and the warranty they expect to have for 20 years. And you said it so well, don't cut corners. This is the one thing that you really need to emphasize quality on, but so many times it gets overlooked. And one simple thing that I think you and I could agree on, Trent, is that you could start by looking at, what is your bonding capacity? Just that one question will help you understand if this company is financially responsible. The risk that I see, and I'm sure you've seen many times, is you can quickly get into a position where you've paid a contractor in advance of receiving your product or service, and then you don't receive that product or service, and then you have to fight, and you have to hire attorneys to represent you to get your money back or get the project finished, especially if it's not bonded. Is that a huge area of concern for property owners right now?
Yeah, it should be. And again, bonding capacity is very difficult to get. It's difficult to even get any bonding capacity, let alone, of a substantial size. So that is a good indicator that you've got a contractor that has been around for a while, but has the economic capability to continue being around and is doing things the right way. Otherwise, a surety would never be willing to work with a contractor that didn't have that. So I think it's all part of the due diligence process, right? It's all part of making sure that you've got a contractor and your bid requirements or whatever else it might be that can meet these criteria. Those are some great indicators that you've got somebody that is going to do good work.
Agreed. Last question for you, Trent. We're
Sure.
talking about the financial responsibility of a contract from all parties. And with the recent challenges that we've seen in tariffs and material price increases, tell me how that affects a property owner. How can they protect themselves against a situation where a contractor contracts a project at a certain amount, and then halfway through that project, they realize tariffs have kicked in or price increases have kicked in, and they try to pass it on to the end user? I'm sure you've seen some pretty difficult and challenging situations. Can you tell us what's the best path for protecting yourself there?
Absolutely, and it's been an issue. It's been an issue for a while, and I saw this even post COVID with the material crisis, where you couldn't get a lot of materials and prices were going up significantly. So there's been issues over the years where you've seen that. One of the things I like to do is have that discussion up front, and typically, whether it's the owner's rep, it's the consultants, the design professional, or it's the owner themselves, it's talking about what do we do in the event that this happens, right? Because typically when you're bidding stuff, you're bidding fixed price, but I like to create a contractual mechanism or something in there that allows you to deal with tariffs or other unknowns. And typically, the way that I like to structure it is have the contractor absorb a certain percentage over whatever the fixed price is. And then after that, there's discussions between the owner and the contractor to determine, how are they going to deal with these increased costs. Making sure that that's addressed up front, I think, is an important thing. You don't want to get to a point where there's 100% tariff put on your roof system halfway through a project.
Right.
That's not what you want. The other thing that you can do is you can have discussions with your property owner and say, look, we've got some concern on the horizon about tariffs. What we can do is we can look to purchase the materials now and maybe store 'em, either store them on site or store them off site. And how does that look? Right. So there's a variety of things that you can talk to your contractor about to help prevent the potential price escalation that we're seeing with tariffs.
Even that can be challenging at times because I see a lot of contractors that go and push heavily on, I need a 50% deposit up front. This goes back to your conversation about financial risk. Are they just robbing Peter to pay Paul? And a lot of times that's what happens if they don't know how to manage, if they didn't build in enough profit, so they're suffering on the previous job, they got to secure the next job as quick as they can and collect the deposit so they can make up the deficiencies from the past project. And that just snowballs. It just keeps going and going and going. And so it's really, really important for property owners to protect themselves from the financial risks that go with contracting. Make sure you're getting a contractor that is financially solvent, strong, has bonding capacity, and can demonstrate that. And then protect yourself against the challenges that you're going to face if you don't have determined pricing or a plan to accommodate increased pricing throughout a project. That can get you in trouble really quick. Trent, thank you so much for your words today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Chris Coriel, CEO of Coriel Roofing. Today we had Trent Cotney, partner and national construction team leader at Adams and Reese LLP. Such great words of wisdom to protect us all. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Coriel Roofing Setting the Standard. Trent, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.